All right, let's talk about the Schumer shutdown. We're going to kind of go into this a little bit because the Schumer shutdown realistically has nothing to do with DACA. And I know somebody told me earlier that you're not allowed to say DACA, DACA. I don't care. Um, the Schumer shutdown really had nothing to do with DACA, had nothing to do with immigration. It had everything to do with the fact that Democrats lost their heinies in the last election. They completely overspent everything that they had. They blew their entire wad on the last election. They spent over $1 billion between Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC. Democrats are almost bankrupt. Their donors are vacating the party and they're not getting any more money. They needed to shut the government down because there's one thing the Democrats know and love, and that is that a few years ago they exempted themselves from a little law called insider trading. It is not illegal for congressmen and senators to insider trade on the stock market based on what they do and how they affect the stock market and make money off of that. Why do you think a senator or congressman in their first couple of years who's only making $150,000 to $170,000 a year becomes a multimillionaire overnight? It is because of insider trading. The one thing that these guys let the cat out of the bag on was the fact that with this government shutdown, that there was a lot of government contracts that were supposed to start that could not start. This is also the same day that everybody was coming out of the market, and they were all going to be posting all of their earnings reports, their profit and loss statements. Everything was hitting the market. The government shutdown happened, and instantly over the weekend, the Dow Jones futures were already falling. Stocks were already falling over the weekend while the market was closed. The market expectations. It opened and it opened down from where it closed, and the Dow Jones only opened just a little bit down, not a lot. It wasn't down that far in the grand scheme of things, but there were a lot of companies that were holding the Dow Jones strong. But what you have to look at is you have to look at the companies that had the military contracts. That is what you need to pay attention to. Look at these companies that had these contracts that were supposed to start in January that did not. They never got started because this government was shutting down. So when the government shutdown happened, all of these companies who had spent over millions of dollars into hiring new labor, buying new tools, buying new equipment, buying all of these things to start these new contracts. That new contract never even got off the ground because the government shut down and they're not getting paid. Their stocks are plummeting. Instantly, Democrats come in to the rescue over the weekend, buying up all of these down stocks. Some of these stocks were down over 60%. This afternoon, just after lunch, Republicans and Democrats come out saying that they're working together and that they're anticipating the government reopening later this afternoon. They're going to be holding a vote. The market closes at an all-time record high again today. Almost every one of those companies made back that 60% loss this afternoon. When the market closed, they had all almost made everything back right there. This is why the Democrats shut the government down, because they heavily invested themselves. They invested themselves millions of dollars into companies they knew were taking massive losses. Through insider trading, they knew who the contracts went to. They invested into those companies, and when the companies were down far enough and they bought enough into it while it was down, they came out and announced, government shutdown is over, don't worry, we're going to continue negotiating on DACA, when they were already continuing to negotiate in DACA. Everything that was in this budget deal, everything that was in this continuing resolution that now is only going to carry us to February the 8th, where we're going to be looking at a potential another shutdown, everything that was in that bill was not opposed by the Democrat Party. There was nothing in this bill that was opposed by the Democrat Party. The idea that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats held this up and shut the government down over the weekend, causing all of the stock markets to react, was just a farce. The idea that they're using this as, DACA is this big hot button issue, when every single one of these Democrats was opposed to DACA just 4 years ago. As a matter of fact, they all made speeches about it. Chuck Schumer made this huge grandstanding speech back in 2013 about how the Republicans, who had shut down the government over the funding of Obamacare, how somehow or another that was not a physical issue, even though that budget was funding Obamacare, and that was one of the hot button issues. And yes, they shut the government down on it, and that shutdown lasted over 16 days. But the idea that Chuck Schumer would go out during that day, during that time, during that shutdown, and make a huge speech, how it is absolutely appalling and unconscionable and unconstitutional to shut down the government over a non-physical issue. Physical as in money, not as in physical, tangible in real life. And then just 5 years later, to shut down the government again over an immigration issue in a budget bill, when there is no immigration issue in a budget. So yes, Chuck Schumer, Hypocrite of the Year award. Congratulations.